it's Max here and it's day 1 of the new challenge, and this month I'm trying to learn how to do photorealistic portrait drawing. So what I mean by that is when you draw a picture of a person, it actually looks kind of like a photo and not just kind of like a sketch. Tomorrow I'll draw a picture of myself, and then at the end of the month I'll also draw a picture, and we can use that as a gauge to see how much I improve from the start to the end. To give you an idea of where I'm at now, I want to show some of the drawings that I've done previously. When I was younger, I really liked Dragon Ball Z. So I used to draw Dragon Ball Z pictures. I used to draw comic books as well, a full comic book. The drawings weren't fantastic. The content's pretty good. I used to draw on all my books in school, and you can see I've kind of drawn a pretty cool design in the book. And this would be one of the last portraits that I would have drawn. I used to draw on an app called Draw Something. It's an app like Pictionary where you draw a picture on your phone and someone has to try to guess it. And for whatever reason, I got really obsessed with that game and I always wanted to make my drawings look really good. So I used to spend a lot of time. And here are some of the drawings that I used to draw on Draw Something. Some of these images over here. Cool, so the new challenge is starting. I'm excited for this one. It's much more chill than violin. Wish me luck. So I just finished my first portrait drawing of myself. It took me about 20 or so minutes. At a certain point, I don't really know how to add any more. I realized I drew it on an angle because I was lying on an angle. It looks better on an angle than it does flat. That's kind of, I guess, my starting point or my baseline, and we'll see where I can get to from here. So for my first portrait, I'm drawing Elon Musk, who's a favorite entrepreneur of mine and a bit of a hero. And I'm following on with a course that I'm doing from the Virtuin Studio, which is a really good online course on portrait drawing. So I want to talk about the materials that I'm using during this drawing. So I'm using pencils all the way from a 9H to a 9B to achieve the darkness and the lightness of the image. I'm drawing on grey paper. I'm using brushes, which you'll see, to thin out some of the graphite and get that blending effect. I'm also using a blending stump to push in the graphite to the paper and blend the paper. I'm also using white chalk to capture some of the light. And then I'm using an eraser, and that's really all the tools that I'm using during this drawing. What I can improve on this drawing is the positioning of all of the details on the drawing aren't perfect. The forehead's too big, the eyes are slightly too small. And by doing those slight errors, it doesn't matter how good you draw in the details of the eye, if the position of the eye is wrong or the size is wrong, it will look like the cousin of Elon Musk, but it won't actually look like what you're trying to draw. And so it's really important to take the time to measure up your drawing really well at the start of the drawing. So that brings me to my next drawing. Hey guys, so I'm on my way to a live drawing class, which should be interesting. I'm interested to see if I can leverage what I've learned with portrait drawing so far into live drawing, which is actually drawing a body, and it's a bit shorter period of time, but I've been lucky enough to be able to film today, which is pretty cool. Life drawing was something really new and interesting, and an interesting way to challenge myself with this drawing challenge. There was a lot of different poses, and each pose was a different length. So some of them were really short, they were only like 1 minute, and then the last pose was half an hour. So these were some of the 1 minute poses. So the 1 minute poses were really tough to draw because it's really quick. Then we had some 2 minute poses. You can see I was really focusing on the structure of the drawing, so try to find the length of the arm relative to the size of the head and things like that. And then we had a 15-minute pose. So 15-minute pose, I actually got to shade a little bit. Finally, we had the half an hour pose. I gotta say, I enjoyed the half an hour pose the most of any of the poses by far, really, because it gave me time to actually put into practice some of the things that I learned. So I got to measure part of the body by putting out my hand and using the pencil as a measuring tool. But overall, it was a really good challenge and it was really fun, and I'm excited to get back to portrait drawing. And my next drawing, I'm going to draw Beyonce. So I wanted to try something completely different. Let's jump into it. Beyonce time.
So this time I didn't follow along with the course, but I drew from memory from the course. And as a result, I didn't get the order quite right, which caused some troubles in my drawing. So what you should do is focus on the biggest objects first and then move to finer details. For example, you should mark the highest point of the forehead and then the lowest point of the chin, and use that as a reference point when trying to find the position of the eyes in relationship to the ears and things like that. You should also do the darkest dark when you're shadowing, like in the hair or in the eyes, and the lightest white, for example in the forehead, to use as a reference point when trying to find the shade. And so because I didn't do the right order, I think it caused some issues in my final product.
There's still a lot of room for improvement on this drawing. I feel like the likeness to Beyonce isn't really there. In the original drawing, there was a hand in the photo, so I had to remove the hand, which made things difficult. I found the hair quite challenging because it was capturing a lot of light. So I've got a lot of work to do before my final self-portrait, but I really think that from these drawings that I've done so far with Elon Musk and Beyonce, I'm ready to do a much better drawing for my self-portrait.
So I want to talk you through the process that I use to actually make one of these drawings. And it's something that you could actually do yourself once you know what to do. Firstly, what I do is try to find the lowest point on the chin and the highest point on the head. And I find the angle between those 2 points. And I measure that out using my pencil and try to put it in front of my face and think about what that angle is, and then try to find that same angle on the page. Then using that same measuring process, I try to find the point furthest on the left and furthest on the right. And I do the angles from the top and the bottom to find the position of the side of the ears. And that's why you see a diamond shape on my face when I start out a drawing. Then using that as a reference point, I then try to find the top of the forehead, the position of the middle of the eyes, the bottom of the nose, the middle of the mouth, and so on, so I can find the position of all of the different features. It's only once I've really got all of the positions down, even the left side of the eye and the top of the eyebrow and things like that, that I start filling out some of the details. I might start with the eyes and eyebrows and work my way down. I'll also then start blocking out the shapes of the shadows, and then finally I'll start doing shading once I've finished all of the details. I'll start with the darkest darks and the lightest lights, and then shade my way through. And then I'll keep reviewing and looking for spots that could be darker or lighter, or I'll be measuring again to find if anything's out of place, and keep making adjustments to try to get everything looking like the photo does.
I'm really happy with how it came out. I think the likeness of me is really there as I try to do the same face. When I compare the two images side by side, it's clear to me that it's so significant how much I've improved this month. And I'm really happy with how this challenge went out. This next month, I'm doing salsa dancing. So if you want to see that journey about me learning salsa dancing in a month, please hit the subscribe button. And thank you so much for watching, and stay tuned for the next episode.